Subscribers to NewOrleans.Football get all of our news and analysis. They get to watch this show as it goes live hours before it goes out. Tomorrow's day one recap of training camp is going to be for members only, so that show will not go out to the public. And every day that we do a show throughout camp, it's going to come out the day before it goes out to the public on the website. So you should just sign up, use the code CAMP24, save 20% on your first payment at NewOrleans.Football. Make sure you get locked in for the whole entire season today. Welcome back to another episode of NewOrleans.Football presented by PJ's Coffee. We are coming to you from the Ochsner Health Podcast studio on the road here in Irvine, California. And if you need a new car, make sure you check out my guy Matt Bowers at one of his many locations throughout the Gulf Coast region. So you can go check him out, get a new car, get the best prices, get the best customer care, and he will get you in and out of there with the best car buying experience that you have ever had. All right, we got a great show for you guys today. We're going to talk about Alvin Kamara reporting to training camp, what that means, where things kind of stand with that, where it goes from there. We're going to preview camp, and we're going to get you set up for everything you need to know before practices begin tomorrow. We'll be right back after this quick word from our sponsors. Ochsner Health inspires healthier lives and stronger communities through a combination of standard-setting expertise, quality, and connection not found anywhere else in the region. To learn more about how Ochsner empowers people to get well and stay well, visit ochsner.org. Long live you. The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out. Time for a new watch? Go check out Friend & Company Fine Jewelers' wide array of Breitling watches at their showroom on Maple Street. They have every type of watch that you want, and they can get you right for any type of occasion. And while you're there, check out their engagement salon. They'll make sure you find the perfect ring for that special someone. Their experienced staff offer 5-star customer care to help you find the perfect watch, ring, or whatever else you're looking to buy. Visit them today. Friend & Company Fine Jewelers, 7713 Maple Street between Adams and Burdett, 504-866-5433. Or visit them at friendandcompany.com. Looking for the best insurance coverage at the lowest price? Look no further than Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency. They are a local independent insurance agency right here in New Orleans, specializing in home, flood, and auto insurance. Their agents are born and raised in the area and understand our community's unique needs and the homeowners insurance crisis our residents are currently in. At Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, their dedicated team will shop every available carrier in the market, ensuring you get the most comprehensive coverage at the lowest possible price. They know your time is valuable, which is why they work diligently to provide you with the quotes as soon as possible. Why settle for less when you can have the best? Trust Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, to protect what matters most to you. I do. I've been a client of theirs since 2021. When we couldn't find someone to insure our house because of the big oak tree growing over top, Chabert worked until they found someone that would work with us and give us the protection that we need to feel safe in our new home. Call them today at 504-326-6526 or visit them online at Protected by Chabert. That's 504-326-6526. Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, your local insurance experts. Hardhide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. NewOrleans.Football is proud to be sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Make sure you check out their location on Veterans Boulevard. All right, let's get into the show. Welcome back to the Ochsner Health Podcast studio here from our rented house in Irvine, California. Training camp starts tomorrow.
Ochsner West.
We're going to have everything. Yeah, Ochsner West. We're going to have everything. Right. They should have them out here because they give you the best healthcare that you can get, and you should take your healthcare seriously. And shout out to them for kind of supporting us. It kind of helps us do everything that we're doing with the show. But it is now time for the lead presented by Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. Friend & Company Fine Jewelers are the official jewelers of the New Orleans Saints, and they should be your official home for your next watch. They have a great array of Breitling watches, so make sure you go to their location, check them out, and while you're there, check out their engagement salon. They got beautiful rings, and you can get that special gem for that special gem in your life. All right.
Lead topic. Saints training camp is here. It's Camp 24. We've been waiting for it for a while. We went through the spring practices. We had to wait a little bit more, but now we're here at training camp. The stage is set. Players are reported in. Practice starts tomorrow. What are we most excited about?
All of it, man. All of it. All of it. All of it. Like I'm just ready to see how this season comes together. I mean, I think it's a weird year in that I think that expectations and optimism just from anecdotally, like looking at social media, talking to people, I think it's kind of low, but in a weird way, I think that there's maybe more reason for optimism than there has been the last couple of years. And the reason I say that is like, I think there was like drunken optimism the last couple of years. I think now we kind of know what the team actually is. We know what they have. We know what Derek Carr is. The first year post Drew, post Sean, like there's kind of like lying to yourself that, hey, like these things are going to be better. Like maybe Jameis is going to be this, maybe, it's going to work out this type of way. And then, it never really did. And Derek Carr's coming in. Oh, Derek's going to do this. It's going to be better. Like Andy Dalton was this. Derek Carr should be that. So the Saints should be this. And then it's kind of like, well, Derek Carr's Derek Carr. And I think there's been a sobering effect over all that stuff. But I think that there are real reasons to believe that Clint Kubiak and his staff are going to make the offense better than it was than Pete Carmichael and his staff did. And I think that's a reason for kind of excitement. Does it lead to better results? I don't know about that, but it should lead to a better level of confidence. It should lead to a more watchable product. It should lead to a more satisfying type of offense. And, I think it should just make the team in general, if they win 9 games, I think it'll be a more fun 9. So like, I'm excited to see kind of how the story unfolds.
Yeah, I agree with most of that, especially when you brought Clint Kubiak in. Like, that is a practical, real, like, if somebody's going to be like, tell me why this is going to be any different than the last 2 years. That's the answer to why it could be different. Now, we always have drunken optimism this time of year. 32 fan bases around the league do right now. So maybe they'll be slow to pick up that offense. Maybe it won't fit everybody. Maybe it won't work. But it is a very real practical. What did not work the last 2 years? What could help that? And the offensive system they're installing feels like a very good answer to that question. It feels like coaches, front office, players across the board at every position group on the offense all believe, yes, this, I've used it 10 times now, but Alvin Kamara was the one who said everything feels very intentional. It feels like a really sound plan. Now, plans, hindsight's 2020 later, but it feels really smart. So it's a reason why I think this team can be better. I don't know that I agree that the optimism was misplaced the last few years. I think...
the results tell us it was.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think the opportunity felt better to just, easily win 10 games and win the NFC South, and I think they underachieved on those goals. So this year I'm a lot more cautious. Like, I know now it's not going to be easy for this team to be the best in the NFC South because they haven't been. But should they be better than they were the last 2 years? I think they should be. They should be. I mean, they didn't make drastic changes, but they also don't have drastic losses. And this one big change is a big deal. It's what I want to watch in camp. I mean, we already did it throughout OTAs and minicamp. You guys spent a day chronicling everything Clint Kubiak did on the practice field. We've talked to players about it. We've written a ton of stories about it. So it doesn't feel new, but it is new. It's brand new. We haven't seen it in action yet. Soon we're going to see it in joint practices. Well, first we're going to see it in padded practices that are really competitive. Then we're going to see it in joint practices with the Niners. Then we're going to see it in preseason games. And yeah, I'm more enthusiastic than I have been in years because we have something new to look at during this camp.
That's one thing I'm really excited about, the intentionality of how they move during practices. Because during minicamp and OTAs, we were going, day 1, day 2, but it was like time in between. We're going to be out there every day. We're going to be able to see what they're doing every day.
Yeah.
So every day out there watching how Clint Kubiak operates on a Monday through like a Saturday, that's going to be very encouraging to see, just to see how far this offense can go during those practices. And also just to be back out there, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like we go on
course.
social media now. You saw the Chiefs. I think they popped off on Sunday. Today you see like the players for the Bengals, they coming out there with new haircuts and stuff like that. Aaron Rodgers is back. And you're like, man, we really feel like we're missing out. But tomorrow, definitely going to be
Whose hair are you most looking forward to seeing tomorrow?
Tomorrow? I don't know. I don't think anybody on the Saints will do anything drastic like that because it's not time for us. It's time to win.
Maybe Alvin
Those people, they went to a Super Bowl. This Saints team has not.
One more thing, though, that I looked up is what is this, like a 14-day forecast? 80 degrees, 5% chance of rain, partly cloudy. That's every day for the next 14 days. I mean, it's such a controlled environment. Say what you will. I know it sucks that the fans aren't going to get to watch a lot of this until they come back and they go to Yulman Stadium and they go to the Superdome for some open practices. But, I mean, now that we're here, now that we're out in it, I mean, there is you cannot argue against the fact that the conditions are perfect for getting this work in.
Now, let's kind of narrow it down a little bit. You know, if you ever seen the open practices back in New Orleans, you know, NOF has the binoculars trained on a specific player to give you the deepest detail about that player. Nick, who are you training the binoculars on tomorrow?
I mean, it's not tomorrow, but I mean, throughout camp, I don't think anyone's more important than Trevor Penning. It's the whole entire season. You know, the first couple of days, it's kind of passing camp. So I guess, you know, Marshawn just trying to see that a little bit more. You know, Kool-Aid, somebody that I'm going to have a close eye on just to kind of see what he's doing. But I mean, there's just across the board. I don't think that there's a lot of answers across the board. I mean, I think every day we could go through this and pick somebody new to kind of just to make them a focal point. And I think it probably gets you right into that first preseason game. I mean, there's just that many questions, I think, going down the list. So, yeah. So I think that's kind of where you start out at. But with Penning, I think when they can finally touch each other and
what would
have
that
contact,
be, 4 days into camp?
Yeah, I think that's where that kind of locks in.
That's also anything. True of, is that usually the first day that we see one-on-ones too? It goes in line with pads? I think it does. Receivers, because they didn't do it during OTAs and minicamp. I should know this. I've covered a million of these. But I think the very first day of pads is also the first day of one-on-ones. Marshawn versus Olave. You know, Paulson versus Shaheed, or however they do it. Chase Young's number one on my list, though. I want to know how much we're going to see of him tomorrow. If we're going to see him tomorrow, we'll probably find out this afternoon if he passed his physical. If he does start off on like reserve pup or something, that doesn't mean, oh no, that's how they start everybody off, because not reserve pup, but just, you know, the part-time pup, because you're on it until you're off it. But Chase Young's the guy I can't wait to see during this camp. If we get to see him tomorrow, all the better.
Of course, as are on my list.
Yeah.
But like when it comes time for that padded stuff and like being able to really see people go at it, I'm excited to see the battle between Kool-Aid and Alante. Not just because you're excited about what Kool-Aid brings to the table, but I'm excited to see if Alante, you know, he's had to fight the last 2 seasons. I'm trying to see if that fight is still there and how much he's going to fight to keep himself on the field in the slot position. Because, I mean, that's just so exciting to see. And also, you know, Willie Gay and P. Werner, you say Werner's going to win, but those snaps are going to have to be divided up to see, you know, what's the maximum from each person.
One other name that we haven't mentioned yet. Hey, what's the next segment, Brandon?
The next segment is presented by Shaw Bear Insurance, the Earhart Agency, and it's about Alvin Kamara. Yeah. What's a quick update on Alvin Kamara?
I can't wait to be watching him tomorrow, too.
I don't know that we're going to be watching a lot of him tomorrow. I mean, I don't think him showing up means that he's going to practice. He just posted a picture on Instagram with him with Marshawn Lynch, who, you know, famously said, "I'm just here so I don't get fined." If Alvin doesn't show up to practice, it's $16,000 tomorrow. Every day after that, I think it goes up to $33,000. I mean, you can hold out for more money, but if you're paying more money, to get more money, at some point you're losing money probably. I mean, so I don't think that it's going to be a holdout. You know, I think at some point, you know, this thing has to thaw one way or another, because if the goal is to get that next contract, you have to play football at some point to get that. And I think he needs to have a good season. So at some point you have to practice, or at least absorb enough so that you know the new offense that you're operating in, so that you're playing at your peak performance and you can go out there and have a good season and go out and get that money, if it's not from the Saints, from somebody else. So at some point, I think this does have to reach a resolution, but I don't think it's going to go easy. You know, I think Alvin's probably, you know, going to be hurt, or the effort's going to be at a certain level, or something's going to be going on, or, you know, there's just a lot of things that you see kind of happen with different guys when they're going through these situations now since the new CBA, because it just kind of eliminated the idea of a holdout. Like, it could go a day, like you kind of saw with Alvin in minicamp, but it's not something that kind of
veterans.
Like, is he going to show up? Is he going to show up? Is he going to show up? Like, I kind of thought maybe it would go a day or two to maybe send the message. I mean, that's just kind of, you know, we already saw it. So, I mean, saying that's kind of Alvin's method of operation, I think is a fair statement. But even the last time, you know, the last contract, like going into week 1 of that
he missed
season,
a little bit.
Yeah, there was, you know, there were injuries, and, you know, when Penn went to paper, he wasn't hurt anymore. So it's kind of, I just kind of expect him to probably throttle his effort or participation to some degree until this standoff ends.
Back this up for a minute. First of all, you were the one who first reported that he reported to camp. So he's here. We hear the term hold in all the time. Do teams have to agree to a hold in? Like Alvin himself can't say I'm here, but I'm not going to participate. He gets fined for that, right? Like, so I mean, like the team would have to agree, be here, go through the meeting so you're not missing anything, but we will let you not practice. And like,
no, I mean,
when you hear a player's holding in, does a team have to sort of co-sign on it for him to avoid
I think
fines?
there's usually some type of underlying reason, but everybody knows what it actually is.
Yeah.
So like if Alvin goes in there and says my hamstring's tight,
yeah,
who's going to tell him that his hamstring isn't tight? Well, it isn't. Well, it is.
Yeah.
So I mean,
so that's what you're anticipating. You're
Probably.
Anticipating that when we show up there, is Alvin out there stretching with the team, and then he jogs back in or something like that, maybe, or
maybe we don't see him at all. I mean, I just don't.
Be
I don't know.
interesting.
I have no idea. I don't. You know, I think Alvin's a person that kind of does what he's going to do, and I don't think that there's a lot of people consulting. Well, I think there's people consulting on it, but I think the final decision. I think Alvin just kind of is going to do what he does. And
here's my problem though. That's great if you're Michael Thomas and you're about to get your $20 million a year, or you're Marshawn Lattimore and you're about to get your $20 million a year, or you're Alvin Kamara last time and you're about to get your $12.5 million a year, and it's inevitable and it's just a matter of time, and this pushes things forward. I don't know that this ever gets done. I feel like the Saints have sort of rebooted their philosophy on long-term spending. And if Alvin wants long-term security and money in line with what other running backs are getting for the next 2 or 3 years, this could be just a plain standoff. And at some point, Alvin might just have to reluctantly be like, fine, I'm playing this year angry. Like I don't see a lot of times these holdouts, I'm like, well, they're going to get it done eventually. I don't know that they are.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think adding 2 years is long term. I think it's a short term deal. I mean, I think, and then if you're adding 2 years, like it's probably not 2 real years. Yeah. It's probably a real year and a maybe. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know long term, but I do think like a 2-year extension probably gets it done. I think if they're 2 years gets it done. I would assume Alvin is realistic enough to know where he's at in his career. That 2 years probably is it. I think the Saints are probably, if they come to the table to do this, I think 2 years is probably the number they're at. Maybe the level of commitment in the second year, there's probably some variance there. I think the issue is probably value. I mean, running backs got paid this offseason. Yep. I think that probably makes this a harder deal. You see Joe Mixon get money. Derek Henry got $8 million. Saquon got 12 point something. Christian McCaffrey gets $16 million. I think those, even watching the Giants, their Hard Knocks internal thing on the Saquon deal, like they misgauged what the running back market was going to do. I think a lot of people were probably surprised by it, and I think that raises the value for somebody like him. At least if you are asking for it, that doesn't mean you're going to get given it. But I think what you're asking for changes based on, I don't know, just common sense read of the room. I haven't been told anything on that, but I think just reading the room, you look at the average annual value chart on Over the Cap, and it's like, wow, these numbers, like all the new numbers got way bigger. A few years ago, like it was super suppressed, so it kind of changed a little bit. I don't know if it gets done either, though. Like I have no idea. I mean, there could be. I think there is. I think there is a level of leverage here, though, depending on what the internal feeling is about their team and everybody, how they feel about their own security. Because I do think that Alvin in the fold totally bought in, putting in all the practice hours, all the practice hours, all that stuff. I think that improves everybody's job security. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it just depends on how everybody feels about that. I don't know that people in the front office are worried about that, though. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think the people that are negotiating this contract are worried about, I think they're here. So I don't know that bit of leverage exists, but I think the quality of the season does hinge on him to some degree. And I think if you're going to try to exercise it, like now's the time to try to do it. I just don't know that they fold. Like I don't know that that's going to happen.
I have less of a good feel for my guess on that than I often do in these situations.
And the backside of this too is that it just comes down to this: like if they don't pay him, I do believe at some point he has to show up and play to get that next contract. Yeah. So it really, if Alvin has intentions of getting another contract, like at some point, his whole thing has to kind of go away. Like it's tough because he's in a spot with his age where it's kind of hard for him to just like fully exercise the leverage that I do believe. I think there's some, but it's just I think it just kind of comes back around the block on himself at a certain point.
Yeah, not exactly in the same position, but when I saw this morning that the most vocal player who like wasn't having the progress he wanted in his contract talks, Brandon Ayuk, reported at San Francisco camp, I was like, well,
yeah.
I don't know what AK can do at this point. And this dude has been standing on a soapbox the whole offseason saying, you know, I don't want to be in San Francisco if they're not going to pay me this, trade me to Washington, trade me wherever. And he reported, you know what I mean? And he's still trying to work out to get a deal done. I didn't know what position that would put Alvin in. But, I mean, if he could get his bread, get his bread. But, yeah, when you reported to Nick that Alvin had showed up, I was like, okay, well, you know.
The Marshawn picture, though, which Nick also tweeted.
Yeah.
You don't have to read too far between the lines.
Nah.
I'm just here so I don't get
tweeted
fined.
about it a couple weeks ago.
I mean, he had the post with Mike Thomas recently.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think, you know, anytime you ask somebody about their social media, no, I mean, now you're reading it. Like, nah, I don't think so, man. I think that everything's very intentional, very deliberate. We've talked before about how he's been, you know, he went from like not posting at all to like posting all of his eclectic, all of his eclectic responsibilities and all that stuff, or eclectic interests in that. Like, it's all, I don't know. It's just, it's easy to look at it and kind of think that he's you know, just saying, hey, like, I got all this stuff going on, so y'all can do what you do, and if I got to, I'll do what I got to do. So yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any mistakes being made here.
The game is the game. The game is always going to be the game, for sure. Now it's time to get into our next segment presented by New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company. Even though, like you kind of alluded to, you said Alvin might come here and catch what you called it last week, the Irvine influenza. There's people that are actually on the injury reported injury chart. So let's go through with an injury update and see which players are probably not going to be out there to start training camp. Start with Juwan. I mean, you know.
I don't think we're going to see him probably for quite a while in the camp. I don't think anything's changed with that. The foot's still recovering, so I think that's I think that one's still kind of where it's at.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, Ramczyk, we didn't do a full, like, one of these episodes after that news broke. No surprise to us at all. We didn't know how they were going to designate it, but officially what we've thought since March, out for the season. Could be
out for the career.
Yeah, could be the end of his career. Probably will be. They'll put him on this reserve list. Next year he'll probably retire officially after June 1st. But, you know, a shame. We shouldn't gloss over it. We're not glossing over it. We talked about it at length a long time ago when we found out this was the likely scenario. But it hurts. We've just known about it for a long time, but it hurts a lot.
Yeah. Now, you alluded to the Chase Young situation earlier in the first segment.
I mean, from everything we've heard, he's on the track that they initially expected. And, I mean, like, we saw Kool-Aid throughout OTAs and minicamp. We'd see him work with the trainers one week. Then the next week, we'd see him stretch. And then the next week, we saw him do a little individual. And, like, I have a feeling we're going to see that kind of ramp-up period with Chase Young. So I hope it starts with walk through and stretch the first day, and then maybe on the second week we start seeing individual, and then by the third week he's doing team.
I don't think he's going to take that long.
Yeah, you think even quicker?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, well, the sooner the better.
The sooner the better.
Yeah, exactly.
Get that muscle memory.
I mean, I heard that his conditioning test, he took it last week. You know, the guys that have been training there have been at the facilities. Like, so some of those guys took them last week. I heard that went well. Like,
great.
Well.
Any of that would be positive.
And I think a guy that has anybody that really has any type of injury, like, you're just putting them on PUP as a practical thing, so that in case, you know, the next day they go out and they do something, there's a setback, you're covered, because once they're off, you're kind of, you know, they're off. So I think you put them on there until, like, okay, you're practicing today, you're off. I mean, I don't know that designation means anything as far as, like, the long term.
Yeah, it never does.
So I heard that.
The Ramczyk designation is different, as the graphic shows.
He's done for the year. Yeah.
Nephi Sewell, special teamer. Nephi.
I talked to Nephi during OTAs and minicamp. He is more optimistic than, you know, like, he wants to get back by the end of training camp and try to fight to make this roster at the beginning of the season. I think it makes a lot more sense for them. The other thing you can do with PUP is if you never practice during training camp, then you can begin the season on PUP for like 6 weeks. That feels a lot more likely for his timetable, try to get back in the middle of the season. But he said he's really hoping that he can make a push to get back by the end of August. I just think that feels like a long shot. And Tano, Passanio, the next one on the list, is even further behind. Maybe by the end of the year he can try to come back, but he will not be coming back while we're in California.
Yeah, and then Chris Olave, he showed up on that list on Thursday? He showed up on that list Thursday. Kind of what's an update on that situation? I know you were on Twitter about it.
Yeah, it's nothing. He just had a little back tightness. Nothing anybody's worried about. I don't think it's going to be a thing.
For sure.
Yeah.
We're going to hit a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue the training camp analysis and hit more. Well, keep it locked to NewOrleans.Football.
Total Maintenance is one of the largest locally owned home and commercial service providers in South Louisiana. They were founded in 1980 and serve the greater New Orleans and Baton Rouge markets. And Total Maintenance wants to show some love to our NOF listeners. They have a membership program that gets you 2 tune-up visits for AC and heating, as well as club membership discounts of 15% on all repairs, half off of all diagnostic charges, and 3-year warranties on most repairs for membership clients. This is usually priced at the low price of $24.95 a month per system, but if you tell Total Maintenance that you found them through NOF, they'll lower the price to $20.95 per month per system for as long as you keep the membership active. It will never increase. Total Maintenance has a tune-up special running this summer for $79, down from the normal price of $179. This is a one-time offer for one system only. They also offer a free diagnostic on second opinions on units deemed to be unrepairable, and they offer free estimates for replacements as well as commercial maintenance programs. Services include AC and heating service and replacement, electrical service, plumbing service, as well as generator service and installation. They are Total Maintenance. Find them at tm-ac.com or give them a call at 504-841-3300, or if you're in the Baton Rouge area, 225-480-1000.
There's nothing quite like the feeling of stepping into your dream home. At Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union, we can help make that dream a reality with a team dedicated to you. When you partner with Jefferson Financial, you do so for the life of the loan. Having a single point of contact when questions arise is invaluable. Our experts are here to guide you every step of the way. There's no better time to invest in your future. Apply online at jeffersonfinancial.org. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing lender.
Shrimp Rummelog combos are back at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company. Zesty shrimp rummelog served with fried shrimp, catfish, or soft-shell crab starting at $10.99. Or try one of our spring specials, catfish lafitte or lemon caperfish with crab meat. Now at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company.
Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and much, much more. They are family owned and operated since 1946 and specialize in wine, spirits, gourmet food, gift baskets, catering, and tasting events. They have many locations, so they're never too far away. You can check them out in Metairie, New Orleans, Mandeville, and Baton Rouge, or if it's more convenient, you can always shop online. Whether you're a wine novice or a seasoned collector, you'll enjoy the Martin Wine and Spirit experience.
Welcome back to the Oshner Health Podcast Studio here in sunny Southern California. It is now time for our next segment presented by Hard High Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey. In a couple of hours, we're going to be able to talk to General Manager Mickey Loomis and Head Coach Dennis Allen. What are we expecting to hear from them?
You know, I don't know. I mean, I think when we go out there, first question, what's it going to be?
Alvin.
It's going to be Alvin.
Yeah. Doesn't mean we're going to get answers.
It's going to be Alvin. And since we started doing the show, there's the Alvin Post. And, you know, I don't know. Like, it's going to be interesting to see how they react to it. What do you think, if you're guessing? Let's do these one by one. What do you think Mickey's reaction is?
Mickey is going to be like shutting down the question as quickly as possible. Like, I'm not going to answer that stuff. Yeah. DA, though, DA might have a little feistiness in his answer. Like, DA doesn't hide it when he's ticked at something. So he it'll be interesting to gauge if he's like amenable to the fact that, yeah, look, we're working on a contract, or if he's pissed and he makes it known. You'll be able to read through the lines with DA a little bit.
Yeah, and look, I think there's obviously multiple sides of this. There's a perception on both sides. Yeah. There's Alvin probably feeling like he deserves better. Doesn't mean he deserves better. Yeah. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying what he probably feels like I deserve this. I deserve better. Sides. I'm upset about this. Like, I think he's at his point. And if you are DA and or Mickey, or DA and Mickey, I think that you probably look at this a little bit like an attack on your I don't know, what you're trying to build, your culture, whatever. Like, it's not, you don't want somebody that's pissed and posting on social media. Like, those are not things you want. Now, I understand. I'm not saying Alvin's right or wrong for doing it, but I think that they're, you know, you go make a post now, they're going to have their reaction to it. I'm going to be interested to kind of see if we can feel the temperature at all. Not, I don't know if we will be able to. Like you said, I agree on the Mickey. DA shows his hand sometimes, though. And I think that, Alvin's probably right to be frustrated. I think DA is also going to be right to react how he wants to that. And, I'm just interested to kind of see how it goes.
Well, I think it's an interesting topic with Mickey Loomis, regardless of Alvin, but especially with Alvin, is he made a very big show at the end of last season, both with the team and his meetings with the team and with his meeting with the media about how he thinks the culture had eroded and he wants it to change.
Yeah,
and I'm curious how he feels about that, where that is now. It felt like a really positive offseason, Alvin aside. Even some of the leaders that maybe felt a tiny bit disengaged in years past, DeMario, Tyron, everybody is kind of
there's better buy-in.
A rallying. The buy-in has been good this year, and I'm curious if Mickey will go into how he feels about how that's gone over the last 6 months. We've talked to Mickey a few times here and there, but that's like kind of a status check I think we could be looking for today.
Yeah, you had a big move like Taysom showing up to OTAs and minicamp.
Yeah,
that was huge.
Big. That was big. Yeah.
You have, Lattimore. He had his situation going on of uncertainty.
We'll talk about him today too.
He came back, so there is a level of buy-in on this team where the culture seems to be in a better place than what it was towards the end of last season.
Same thing we were saying about.
Facts on a level surface like that. But that's definitely something that we'll have to see what they think about it.
Here's the thing, though, is like Alvin is not afraid to speak his mind and let you know what he's thinking and everything. It's a situation that I don't think that it's just can be ignored. Like this is
it ain't a gloss over.
This is something that I think we were talking in the last segment. You use afraid like I'm playing pissed off. Yeah, but like there's a lot that comes with that. Like I think it's I don't want to be like blow something up, but like I do think, given the personalities involved, this is potentially dangerous territory a little bit.
You think it's combustible to, like, how close on a scale of 1 to 10?
Look, this was the guy. Look, he made a post, right? He just went. He reports and then he posts on social, and it's kind of clear what that meant. He was the guy last year that kind of did everything but said the coaches' names. It was basically in rap. The rap parallel would be like, the Kendrick, F the big three, there's just big me. Like, you knew exactly who he was talking about. Like, Alvin, I'm not saying he was saying F anybody, but like, he would go up there and talk without saying names, and you knew exactly who he was talking about. Like, it was right up to that edge where, like, he never quite went all the way there, but he for all intents and purposes, went there. And, if you're the person on the receiving end of that, that he's talking to you. He might as well have just said your name because and it's received that way. Yeah. So I don't think he's somebody that hides how he's thinking, feeling, what he's doing. It's an interesting situation, at least. I think it's something. I don't think it ends up like the CJ Gardner-Johnson one, like where it's just kind of like very, very raw emotion kind of coming out in different situations. But like, I think there's going to be some type of reaction to this that, I don't think it's going to be hidden. The last time Alvin talked, he kind of let out a veiled message about like weird stuff, weird messaging, weird stuff going on about the OTAs, and like I went up and asked him afterwards what he meant about it, and it was he's gonna tell you what he's thinking, and if this doesn't work out, he's gonna be thinking and feeling a lot of things, and he's gonna tell his truth, and he's never been afraid to do that, and I think we see what his truth is, and his truth being discussed. I do think that is something that if you are the coach, the general manager, whatever, that has to be part of the calculus here of like what's the plan to deal with this. And I don't think he's like, I don't know, like when you say deal with something, it kind of has like a negative connotation. Like, I don't think he's just like a straight up negative person. I think it's just like in the circumstance, he's going to tell you his truth and how he feels. And I don't think he's feeling great about the situation right now.
No question.
Yeah, well, we're going to hear from DA and Mickey later and see what they think about it. But now it's time for the Martin's question of the day. Martin's is home to a wide selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and more. Martin's, so much more than just wine. Today's question is, besides Derek Carr, which player being selected to a Pro Bowl guarantees the Saints a playoff spot?
I just keep saying this man's name, but Trevor Penning. That's you give me Pro
Can we
Bowl
put the
Penning.
word realistic
You
in
give
there?
me-
Yeah, I agree with your answer.
You give me Pro Bowl Penning, and that's a guaranteed roster spot. Outside of that, though, I don't know that, even if Derek makes the Pro Bowl, I don't know if it guarantees a roster spot.
It guarantees a playoff spot, yeah.
Yeah, or what did I say?
You said roster spot.
Playoff
Yeah.
spot. A playoff spot. Yeah, I
I'm
don't think
guaranteeing Derek Carr makes the
Sure,
roster.
yeah, me
this
too.
year.
Me too. I don't know if there is one that I would.
I've got
that I
some
would go there.
candidates.
Yeah,
Trevor
so-
Penning would be number one. I mean, almost any offensive lineman, but I think Eric McCoy's on the verge right now. Cesar Ruiz is on the verge. But yeah, if like Fuaga or Penning made it, yeah. But I mean, not a realistic ones. I mean, Chase Young felt like the obvious answer to this question. If you add
we
a
talked
Pro
about
Bowl
this the other
defensive
day.
end, but my answer is probably Marshawn. Like if Marshawn is back at that level, I feel really, really good about this team. Like there's some other Pro Bowlers, Olave, Eric McCoy. They're close enough already. That doesn't change it. But it would have to be somebody who wasn't there, and you're like adding a Pro Bowler to the established team. So Chase Young and Marshawn. How about Alvin? That would mean this thing was all
that's
pretty
where
well.
that's where my mind was going. I was like, well, look, if Alvin could get to the point where he's on the team and he has a Pro Bowl type season,
That'd be a good sign.
Boy,
It'd be a
that's
good
gonna
sign
be-
that they fixed their run game too.
yeah, that's gonna be something else. Yeah,
Yeah, I'll give you that. I mean, I just have I have issues with kind of it just because, like, okay, so if we raise someone, I don't know that the fixed points on like their defense or like they're older guys. Like there's a variance there. So like
Yeah.
Chase Young could get better, but you could drop in some of these key spots. Like they're kind of at like a
Yeah, what
a
if Chase
weird
Young
spot.
is great, but DeMario?
Yeah, what if
falls
Demario
back?
dips? What if Tyron dips? Like you
No,
know,
it's fair.
That's real.
One guy alone probably doesn't do it, but Chase Young and Marshawn stand out to me
I
as
agree.
two
I
guys
agree.
who weren't part of this team last year.
Yeah.
And if you're adding them at their best, that could go a long way.
I agree with that. I mean, I think if you assume, and it's probably safe to assume that those guys aren't going to go through like super rapid decline. I think they're both just
But
really smart, instinctive, all that stuff.
You said Penning, maybe Talifuag is even
Yeah.
a more realistic answer. What if
But-
he's that good as a rookie?
Yeah, he's realistic. I mean, but Alvin and Chase are probably the most realistic possible ones. And
Yeah.
yeah, if you give me one of those two, like I like the odds of making the playoffs significantly better.
Yeah.
I don't want to be like super Debbie Downer. I just do feel like going into this season that it just needs to, like the age of some of these guys. I think you're at the point where it can like flip like very very quickly on any of them, and I just think that, like me personally, I don't know that I've like equated that into like my variances enough, and I think it's just something that needs
So what
to
you
be
think?
said.
Like playing on borrowed time? Just in
No,
some
I just
sense?
think it's something that's a subplot to the season that's like probably within the first 5 to 10 bullet points of like, these are the things that are going to define the season. Can they beat like the race against time?
Well, look, speaking of Mickey Loomis's postseason press conference, was the first question I asked him. You have according to this study, you have the oldest roster in the league. And he's like, I don't think we have the oldest roster in the league. Some of those numbers, and I'm like, you do. You have the oldest roster. I mean, this team's old. This team's old.
Yeah.
And they can fight it. Maybe they can fight it off for a year.
Yeah.
But they can fight it off for a year, 2 tops.
Yeah.
It's old. They need to draft better.
Thanks. Well, we
Yeah.
appreciate y'all for stopping in and joining us in sunny California for the first episode of the California Shows in the Oshner podcast studio for the month of the rest of July and August. For those who are already in here and alive, you know what's happening because you're locked into NewOrleans.Football. And for those who don't, you're missing out. So make sure you subscribe because training camp is here, and keep it locked to NewOrleans.Football. Overtime is next.